So thank you for the invitation again, and I'm happy to be here with all of you. Some of the people here in the room are often in the meeting we are sharing, like Noshin and Ansgar, because I am the chair, or technically the convener, of a working group on foundational and societal aspect of AI for Sensenelec. We are developing so the standard on trustworthy AI and two standards. And what I'd like to highlight is something that I think all the panelists already quoted, is that there is a shift in the way standardization is going to impact the development of AI systems. But there is a lot of uncertainty, and the uncertainty is then arrive from several paths. Um, First of all, we have to understand that whenever we worked in standard for systems that weren't based on stochastic or statistics, we could allocate responsibility in a very easy way, or at least in a way much easier than today. With AI, the allocation of responsibility became a real challenge, and that's why responsible AI ethics are terms that are often used when we are developing AI. Now, the problem of how to apply AI ethics, or how to allocate responsibility when developing AI, can be done in several ways. Regular allocate responsibility. Standards are trying to create the technical norms to do it. But the reality is that with AI, we started to have to use a lot of qualifiers in legislation and standards. Just to make it easy, whenever we say that a system should have an acceptable level of accuracy, the word acceptable is a typical ethical word, and so we need a process to establish what is acceptable for society, for stakeholders, for the industry. And that's why we have in our committees different stakeholders that have to work on the impact of AI system on society, but also on protected categories, on subgroup of peoples, etc., and on individuals. Now the problem, I'm an AI ethicist, and I know that, as was said before, you cannot transform process into mathematical rules. This is a dream that generally when you are doing mathematics you would like to do, but in reality ethics is very contextual, so you need to have a process to improve or mitigate ethical risk, and readapt the evaluation when the context change. So this is what is the big problem with AI and regulation at the moment, that we have systems that are complex, and we need a process that are becoming much more complex than before. So to move from general ethics and principles that should be written on paper, but then are difficult to apply. Generally, when we are doing ethics, we say that we are not evaluating something. This will be something restrictive for an ethicist, but we are creating the environment where the ethical reasoning can flourish. And saying that, it means that we have to create all the ethical infrastructure that will help companies to develop and put on the market systems that are ethically acceptable. Now, when we are doing standard to improve the reasoning on how to create standard, we wanted to enlarge the people in the room. So we invited, and this was correct, other stakeholders. In standard, we have, for example, consumers, we have workers, we have civil society, association dedicated to fundamental rights, researchers, etc. This is what we are trying to do. However, when you are writing standard, you need a technical expert to write the standard. And putting together in the same room people from different fields is not an easy task. And so what we have to create is the common language. People have to understand each other. Simple and pragmatical example are that I experienced meetings where people came in from different fields were using different the same acronyms with different meanings. So this is a very stupid example, but it can happen in meetings. And so this takes time. This takes a lot of time, and we in Europe we are under the burden of the a deadline to produce a standard for the AUA Act. So what we started to realize in the discussion is something that is always raising is that we need a change in governance that will integrate much more the standardization process with the normative and legislative process. And what you say at the moment, Robert, it was very right. You cannot reach perfection, but you must arrive to have some rule to play the game. So the idea that we will have to cope with uncertainty for the rest of the future with stochastic technologies is something that we have to face. And because of that, we have to create a standard that will be updated, as Ansgar said, every 3, 4 years. But we need a certain rapidity and in improving them and putting around the table the right expert. There is not a silver bullet to solve all this because the quantity of interaction, the stakeholders, the point of pressure to create a trustworthy market in Europe it's difficult, and so it will take time. So we are experiencing a transformation several times since Enrico told the GTC 21, the Joint Technical Group 21, that is developing a standard for the EUA Act, that we were borderline in everything. And we are borderline because we are doing something that wasn't done before. We are trying to bring edge research result to standard. And in the past was a bit the opposite. It was the industry who had the best practices and they shared the best practices. So we are changing, we are shifting the way of working, the importance of regulation, the relationship with technical regulation. So I think that to apply what was very well written in 2018 in the ethics guideline for trustworthy AI, and that we saw those principles that we saw appear in the regulation and then in the standard, we have to create a global environment to do it. So new rules, new way of working, and also we have to we need the right and competent people at the right place. Just to give an example, and was already quoted, but we cannot let only engineers to make decision on fundamental rights. And we need, that's why in GTC 21 we also developed a standard that is under public inquiry on the competence of AI ethicists. This is because even if it's not directly related to the EU Act, we have to understand that we need the right people in the room to create the right mechanism to arrive to have a right decision and to put on the market the systems that are good for society. We do not to forget that the scale of AI at the moment is enormous and it's faster than other technologies or physical technologies in the past, and that and this is an ethical point very important, we must not miss the opportunities that AI can give to society. So we are producing an amount of data that is enormous. We never saw it in history. We must understand that we cannot treat as a human being all this information. It was quoted before by Turaji. Or today, images are read by images. Texts are read by, images are read by AI, texts are read by AI. And so sometimes we have content that are interpreted by AI. And we can even arrive to some example of adversarial AI. Candidates for a job are using AI to write CVs, resumes, and letters that are interpreted by AI system. So we are kind of losing the connection with sometimes with the reality, and we need to work in, I would say, more than the fact of being human centric, is making sense on what we are doing. And so I would more talk about the semantic relevance that we have to put in what we are doing, in the technology we are developing, in the standard we are developing that should impact the big industry, but also let the small, medium enterprises to produce the right technology in the market. So, and this is something that I used to repeat all the time. Everybody is doing a little piece of the puzzle. We need the work of everybody. Sometimes we need to put the right expert around the table and to find new governances that will be more rapid and faster for the future.